Welcome to the Smoking Word.
What's up, everybody? We are back. The Smoking Word is back and brought to you by CasaDeRock.com. You know the drill. That's my merch store. If you want to support the show, it just look good. That's the spot to go to. We're celebrating 2021 by making every t-shirt $21. So stop being cheap and go support the movement. That's the spot to go. You can also, and listen, this is very important. I know you hear it from everybody, but we finally got our Patreon up. And for a lot of you dinosaurs out there that were like me, I'm one of you guys, but I'm a futuristic dinosaur. But the Patreon is a way you can invest in the show. If you don't know, this thing ain't free to put up, web hosting, these microphones and all that good stuff. We all do this to, not just me, but everybody who does it on the guerrilla level, does it out of pocket and for the love of the game. So, but now if you want to invest in the show, we offer 4 different tiers. You invest a certain amount of money and you get exclusive content from the show. You get advanced, screenings of shows and content. And I'm going to be taking everybody backstage. All my patrons are going to be taking that hidden ride backstage when this thing starts cracking open. So that you get something for something. We ain't about taking something for nothing. So invest in the show. You want the show to keep doing it. You can also follow me at Hoya Rock 357 on Instagram. I keep you up to date with everything Madball, everything Casa de Rock, and of course, everything Smoking Word. And you need to add the Smoking Word podcast on Instagram. Add it, do all that good stuff. If you want to contact us, you got any questions, any shout outs, you want to fucking curse us out, you want to have us basically you can email us at the Smoking Word podcast. Hit us up if you want to know anything, any questions for the show, or you just want to get down with the get down. And also, once again, shout out to Warlock Cabs in Massachusetts. We got some more info coming very soon on that Hoya Rock ass shaking boombox. But if you want some custom cabinets, go check them out on Instagram and all that good stuff. And again, I told you on the last one, but we're back with this week's. Shout out shout out and welcome to the fam. Once again, the hella hot sauce fam. And this week I started getting busy. I said, let me get really gritty and bring it to Florida with this one. So I've been rocking my brother's Florida Frank's hot sauce from the hella hot sauce fam. And let me tell you, this is the one you got to do when you want to, if you want to sweat, if you want that Florida heat, this is how you do it. Frankie basically put Florida in a bottle, and the fam at hella hot sauce made that shit taste good. Me, I did this shit on chicken breast. I advise you do the same. And for you vegans, throw that shit on your tofurkeys or whatever the hell you're eating nowadays. But shout out to Hatebreed, shout out to Frank, and again, go check them out. Hella hot sauce. They're homegrown. They're no fucking weird fucking ingredients, all natural fucking goodies from Mother Earth. So you know the deal. But again, I want to thank everybody who's been following the podcast, watching us build. As you can see, we're trying to step the game up with the YouTube, with the visuals, with the microphones. A couple of the past episodes, we had shitty audio. I know my microphones got fucked up. So we had to wait for some microphones to fall off the back of a truck. Let's just leave it like that. So now we're back with the microphones, and little by little, we're building this fucking family up. So I'm glad everybody came along for the ride, and everybody out there. I hope you heard the last episode with the Axemen of the Underground. Shout out to my brother Vinny. Shout out to my brother Matty Henderson, and shout out to fucking Lars. The Godfathers of the game. Shout out to all my Axemen out there. I'm planning to do a couple of more segments like that. We did the All About the Bass. We did the Axemen of the Underground, and just wait, you drummers, I didn't forget about you. And all you vocalists, you see, you singers always up front and get everything first. Now you're going to have to wait, but I got something planned for everybody. So enjoy the ride. And this week, I said, let me step it up again and let me bring a little old school flavor and mix it with a little new school flavor. I don't know if it's new school flavor really, but you know what I mean. But yo, this week on the Smokin Word, we got Walter from Quicksand, Queens in the house. Let's set this shit off.
To the Smoking Word.
Studio guy. You're a studio guy. You should know how these things work. I'm horrible at this.
You'd think, dude. To be honest, I'm one of these guys that you think would know all this shit, but I don't know anything. It was funny listening to your the bass one with Craig. I'm like on that level.
Yeah, that's like one of the secrets that I'm proud to let out to the world, that not everybody is fucking Stevie Ray Vaughan or Jimi Hendrix or Jaco Pastorius and all these other famous long name people. You know what I mean?
I admire those people. I dig them. I would love to do what they do, but I am not there yet.
Oh, I don't think I'll ever be there. I got like toes for fingers. So for me, it's like playing with my feet. That's how I play.
I just never got, I guess you just gotta, I mean, I have spent time where I've like dug in and try to get better, but you have to have that attitude. You have to be like, I'm just gonna play guitar, not to just like, you play to just be bored, just like hang out or something strikes you that you got to get out through the instrument. But there's another mode of playing of like, I'm playing to get better. I'm playing to make my fingers stronger.
Yeah.
My, dexterity better. And I'm not disciplined in that way. Once in a while.
I fucked up on that part, on all of that growing up, because right away, I never worried about that. I jumped in playing an instrument to be in a band. So I didn't have a bass, and then jam out. I was basically my big mouth. I said, oh, I could do that. And they were like, all right, then do it. So I was like, all right, I guess I got to do it now. Right away was like, okay, what do? We got to write a song. So I didn't really come up learning anybody's songs or having a favorite player, not till later. Because I just had to do it because I was like, okay, my brother wanted to play bass. I opened my big mouth. So I just kind of jumped into the songwriting part. You know what I mean? And that's what kind of like, that's the thing about you that I like, and I could tell, we're going to get into that more later, the whole looking at the big picture and writing songs and all that shit. Because coming from where we come from, people just think it is guerrilla music, hands down. But people forget that, we evolved from these similar animals. You know what I mean? We made techniques to how to put the square peg through the circle hole. You know what I mean?
For sure. I think we kind of write like our own kind of set of like, we make up our own sort of rules for like why this is good, as opposed to like playing into like, like the guys we mentioned, Jaco Pastorius or Jimi Hendrix, like those guys are setting their sources of inspiration. I think the cool thing with the kind of music, and I'm like you, like I just wanted to play in a band and have that experience. So it was about songwriting and about creating that. And then I'd figure I'll get better as time goes by. It just didn't come to me quickly. Like I tried to learn, Jimi Hendrix riffs early on, just as a place.
Yeah.
I got my own little shitty version of them, but I quickly changed into like, what kind of songs do I want to hear? Like, how are we going to get me and my friends to like, from this garage to the next spot,
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's like more the mission at hand than I'm dialing into exactly who we're trying to sound like. It's like exactly that's the great thing about the scene, that there's a place for it. There's a place for you to find yourself.
For sure. And you set your own rules within your band. It's like you listen to, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is AF. I mean, they've had like such a long career, and I think that they have had actually a more diverse career in some ways than people would maybe give them credit for. But you think of like their first 7-inch, like United Blood, like that thing's amazing. But if you were to like listen to it as like a musician or whatever.
It's
Like
noise.
it's garbage.
Yeah.
But it's because they created their own rules and their own context, in a way, like, and they put, their heart and their idea of like, they pushed it to the limits of what their ability was to express an idea. And I think that that's what is cool about hardcore. It gives you that entry level where you can just do it like that. And then eventually you do get better. You know what I mean? Like eventually, by doing it, that's just what happens.
Now, was there anybody? We're gonna do it backwards, kind of, because
cool.
This is no, I'm whatever, because this is a shit that I'm interested in, because I'm all about the songwriting. I dissect music in my own head. I got a billion theories that may be real or not, but I'm constantly listening. I could tell this influence, and like even with like Craig Ahead, we always texting each other different theories on just sounds and that, and I dissect. I was able to learn the bigger picture way later, and that was because of playing with Matty Henderson with AF.
Yeah.
Before that, I was a riff guy. I wanted the groove riff. I was into that already, but my ear wasn't there. And Matty schooled me on listen to the big picture. All right, we're writing a song, pay attention to structure. Okay, if this is a chorus, blah, blah, blah. And I'm glad I had him. And then right away, ever since he pointed that out, I always made my brain think, okay, pay attention to the song, not just the riff, but the song. Yeah. You are all about writing songs. I could tell that I don't have to talk to you. I could tell from what you put out that is thought, you could think. I could tell sometimes you think of a vocal line and you could think of the riff, or vice versa, and you could put it together.
Yeah.
Did you always were able to look at big picture and place it, or you had somebody that you were like, oh, I'm trying to do what he does, or somebody maybe guide you like I did? I'm lucky I had Matty Henderson. So.
Yeah. I guess I had, your initial guides are the people that you want to imitate, you know what I mean? So, there was like a bunch of bands that I got into as I was learning how to play guitar, and, in my friend group, the person that I learned with, like, what was he into? What's going to make my bandmate laugh? What's going to make my bandmate go, oh shit. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So you start to dial into that immediate audience, that direct audience.
I never thought of that. Yep.
Like your boys, like what makes your friends laugh and what makes your friends go like, oh shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like a conversation in that way. So I learned from that. I learned from my influences. I think as I got, I discovered hardcore. I was into all kinds of, I was into like AC/DC, classic rock. I liked all kinds of different music. But when I found hardcore, I really just jumped in both feet, got into it. So I learned again from, initially, like again, to reference AF, like they were my favorite band kind of in the big broad picture in the early kind of thing, because they just had this body of, of work that you could look at that had that consistency, and like that there were certain kind of things that they did consistently, but with different twists on it, so that you could sense a pattern and you could sense a structure. And, even if it's just like, it goes fast, it goes slow.
Yeah.
It goes fast, it goes slow, it's over. Like,
but there was a formula. Yeah.
So then you try to like maybe initially try to make it sound like that. Obviously it doesn't sound as good as their shit because you're imitating it, but eventually, you get better. I learned I would, as to like make songs that I kind of was looking to those people. And also you learn from your audience, because your audience, like Gorilla Biscuits, we're starting, I thought we were a cool band. We were friends. We were, most had a sense of humor about it. I was drawing from a bunch of different stuff. But then when we made our first recording, I was like, fuck, we're going to be on a compilation. If our shit isn't good, that's going to sting.
Yeah, you got to hang with everything.
Yeah, I'd love to be the best band on this thing, but we can't be the one that everyone like, this shit sucks.
Yeah.
So I really just edited down, and then I think from that song, people reacting to that got a better sense. And also, in when I got to join Warzone, Youth of Today, I was in Death Before Dishonor, I was in Outburst, I was in all these bands. playing with them. So I'm learning from those guys.
Gotcha. Yeah, you were around it a lot. And I was thinking about it the other day, and I have you, Todd. I need everybody out there to hit me up if you got somebody better, but I have you as the runner-up next to Craig on the guy in the most bands in the New York hardcore scene.
Yeah. Well, Craig's an inspiration to me. I mean, if Craig was first off, I saw him play. The first time I ever seen him play was with Straight Ahead, opening for Youth Today, and they were in Youth Today too. So they did
crazy. Yeah.
And the band that opened for them was Sick of It All with Lou and Pete, and it wasn't Armand. It was this Asian guy.
Dave. That was my brother. My brother's best friend was Chinese Dave.
Okay.
Yeah, the original. That's the original lineup. Yeah.
I saw, and Mark Goober. Such a cool, funny guy. I don't know if he was really like a big bass player, but
yeah. Wow, Goober. I haven't heard that name in a minute. Shout out to Mark Goober.
But he was awesome. He had great vibe. So anyway, in that show, seeing like Craig just had such fucking energy, man, and just he was just so and he was like a skinny kid, like reminded me of myself, and I was like, fuck, look at that guy, man, he's ripping it. And then when I met him, you know Craig for so many years, but like just meeting him the first time, he was just so cool, man, and like so like encouraging. I mean, we were the same age, so it wasn't like, but he was doing it.
He was doing it. Yeah, that's the same thing with all you guys to me. Like, guys some of you guys might be a little bit older, not much older, but when you're 15 and the guy is 18, there's a big difference. And when we're going to the show and the guy's on the stage, it's still, no matter what anybody says, of course, we love hardcore because we know the whole thing. The guy on stage is the guy in the crowd, but still, even in that little stage, you're on that little stage, it's still a little stage.
And it's new to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like when I was going to hardcore shows, like I was coming off of like the year before I went to see U2, and that show blew my mind.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, seeing this where I can climb on the stage and talk to the dude that's doing it. Yeah. Like I still had that reverence, and I don't know how we're just talking about Craig, but just he's cool.
Yeah. So, he's all right. He'll be listening to this.
So he was just so being in the most bands. So anyway, Craig was in Youth Today, and when he left Youth Today, I replaced him. So were it not for Craig, I mean, my experience in Youth Today in terms of like learning how to write songs, how to experience the world, because they were at that time on a different level than everybody bands in the scene. And I got to experience that firsthand, where Craig went on with AF and did his path has been amazing. But I'm sure he would attest to the fact that like when you're playing with these different groups of people, they all have their own chemistry and they all have their own reasons why they work. Yeah. And if you're like it's like when you stay with your cousins for the summer, you know what I mean? You learn that family's sense of humor, it becomes part of you, and you can apply it to your own path. And so I've been lucky and always down for those experiences.
And with out of the, I don't know how many bands that you were in before, let's say the known bands, like you played it, was the Gorilla Biscuits the first band doing it that you were in? Not, right. It was Gorilla Biscuits
that started with to like be in a band,
exactly. It's not a bad band to start with. Just to say, in my opinion, I wish I started with Gorilla Biscuits. Fuck?
Thank you.
Yeah, fucking shout out to Civ out there, you motherfucker.
Yeah, he's the best.
Yeah, oh yeah, hell yeah, for sure.
Saw him last week, I told him I was going to be on your podcast, and Civ doesn't. So I never, how many requests I get? I never do any of these fucking.
Yeah.
I gotta say yes. So
yeah. No, of course I have fun with it. And there's certain people. Again, even why me, I had this podcast a bunch of years ago, but technology back then, I needed my sound man to help me out. It was a big deal, and it was hard to. And he lives in Germany, and it was hard. But I always liked the idea when people would hang out, they'd be backstage and we're all talking shit. And then some people were like, wow, I could listen to this forever. And I was like, and then the podcasting was getting popular. And I was like, well, I consider myself a black belt in shit talking. Let me do this, So I had started doing it, but then it was hard to keep up. And then, that's one of the good things of this pandemic bullshit, that it lit my fire to restart it. And technology with the Zoom shit is so much easier.
Yeah.
And it gave me a reason to like, okay, you know, I went back to listening to records and going, who would I like to talk to? Oh shit, yeah. And then you go back and we need this now also for the movement, for the whole scene, for, you know, as it is, you know, the hardcore scene survives with nobody's help, you know, with nobody's help, but its own help.
Yeah.
And right now, this whole pandemic or whatever is killing a lot of shit. We can't let this shit die from that. So that's why I'm all about the podcast, the live streams, the, you know, the everything's.
Yeah.
Right. You
Yeah,
know,
I hear you, man. I think you got to fill that void, you know. And I think, you know, I have complete faith this shit's gonna, you know, the people that are into this. I mean, it was like you said, it's never had help from the outside. It's always about the people that feel it, that get it. Some people it sounds like garbage. It makes no sense at all, and that's cool. But I think in this time, like it is really a help, and it keeps the life going.
For sure. And you know why is the right time more than ever? You know, there's people like you. There's people like that came out of the scene. There's people like us that's still, you know, been in it and got to, you know, a lot of us got to do things beyond hardcore, even if it's with other bands or even with our own bands, but playing different types of bills and getting on different types of magazines. You know, when everybody gets to, like, you know how many people I meet, and for sure I know it's the same for you. You know, you know, with your other band, you go into some industry meeting and you find out some guys like, yeah, I love the Gorilla Biscuits. You find out these hardcore kids are sprinkled everywhere.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's amazing. It's because it's you know, especially my generation. You know, it's like our parents or my parents, you know, or parents, like they had like Vietnam or like World War II or like, you know, these things that bound them together, or like, you know, that kind of shit. Like we have hardcore. Like, you know, this is the kind of thing where it's like, if this person's into hardcore, like they might be into some other completely other walk of life. I know that there's a commonality that it speaks to, like really DIY, like independent thinking, taking shit, like just doing it, like not waiting for someone to give you permission, and understanding like that things can be, you know, especially going into corporate world and, you know, through music, I got to experience that being in like a big corporate kind of situation, and how like, especially early on, they couldn't figure out how you could make a record for less than like fucking $300,000. Like it couldn't be done. It's crazy. But meanwhile, you know, we know you can make a record for nothing. You know what I mean? If you have heart, you have good songs, you're into it. And I think that, you know, our generation, you know, it's basically generation, but like the people like me and you are still doing it, right? Like we're still out playing, we're still involved actively on the musical side. But a lot of people that saw our bands early on that were part of the scene, like obviously they went off and did their lives, and they're all over society. And those are the people that I think have a leg up, because they always see those opportunities and they always see those possibilities where other people, you know, it doesn't mean that they're bad people. It's just maybe they didn't come across it. They would, you know, they would have their job because they went to school X and the degree, and they learned in that kind of formal way. Whereas like hardcore people are learning way broader philosophical ideas through doing.
We get our hands dirty. Hardcore kids get their hands dirty.
Yeah, dude, you want to make it? Do it.
Yeah, for sure. And I know this for a fact because, you know, my brother was the hardcore guy and the metal guy in my family. So as a kid, I grew up with hip hop, right? And I'll say this as a hip hop kid, and ain't nobody in hip hop as a little kid thinking about booking a show, making a flyer, you know, nobody, because it's not that type of scene. You know what I mean? It's, you know, and even in metal, and this is one of my my theories and my I don't know where you put it in my one of my many thoughts on music and my concepts. Like this is again the beauty of hardcore. If music was a school, metal only goes to 5th grade, 1st to 5th grade. Hardcore, you got 1st to college. You have you could build up from day 1 to till you graduate. In metal, you have battle of the bands, or you got to hope you get booked on the national act.
Yeah.
And there's no scene there. There's a scene, but it's a different kind. And I love metal, don't get me wrong, but it's a different kind of scene. And that's why a lot of metal guys jumped into the hardcore scene, because they had somewhere to work out. You know what I mean? Let me go play a medium show. I could play every week, and it ain't a church battle of the bands. You know what I mean? There's a place, and a lot of metal bands came into the scene that way because there was somewhere to play. And I was glad for the mix,
I agree. Like, I think the other thing is that, and it's like, in life too, like you think like, you have some idea in your mind of like what you want to be or what you want to get. Right. So when I get that thing, or when I'm that thing, like you say in a metal idea, like I'll be happy when I'm playing here, look like this, with this kind of surrounding around me. Right. So if you don't win that battle of bands or get that, investment or something like that, you're just living in this world of like trying to like have this thing that like you so fucking likely won't ever get. Whereas like in hardcore, even if I play like a shitty show, like in fucking some whack place, like I'm in the van with my friends, we're gonna go there, whoever's there, we're gonna be like, especially if there's not a lot of people, we're gonna fucking meet all these people.
Yeah.
It's going to be a time, and it's going to be on us to make it good. And all the things that happen within that experience are valid, whether it ends up, to me, it was like when Gorilla Biscuits first played CBGBs, I had pretty much attained all my goals.
Yeah.
We're pretty much like,
I was going to say that. My goal was, first thing was in the back, play our first show. And then I was like, if we could play CBs, I'm done. I could play CBs. Yeah, forget it. Well, what else there is to play? Like,
so you're no longer like trying to like attain this like ideal, and you're just basically enjoying the ride more, and you're more invested in those experiences, which is actually, when you talk about living life, like that's living life.
Yeah.
And every time like I'm sitting in a van or a car or a bus, fucking bored, watching this thing, like that is a fucking thing,
hell yeah.
Like, as much as like when you get off stage, everyone's like, yo, what's up? It's great. And you're, after the show or the show goes shitty, like all this stuff, man.
Yeah, it's all, I literally was just talking about it the other day, about the moments of exactly, the show is one part of it, but it's the whole thing. Like I missed, those days in a van, bus or whatever, you're driving, and everybody's in a good mood. You headed to the show, you got at the hotel or whatever, and you're gonna do that truck stop, and everybody's up. Okay, we're gonna get. That's like the best feeling. You're talking shit. Yeah, you're having a convo about something. You're talking as you're getting out the van, and like those moments, I'm like, I love those. The weather's nice, and you're like, being.
So like I don't need to be validated. And I think in metal, not to beat up on metal, because metal is like a style. And I know so many people that came to hardcore through metal that have heart, and like, that's just how they got exposed to music. Like, I don't know, I just randomly ran into hardcore. So, like, and I think with hip hop early on, I think there was some people that had the right, and I think New York was very intertwined with hardcore in the 80s.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, when New York in the 80s, obviously you have that early like kind of Africa Bambaataa, like, and then like Run DMC has some traction, obviously. But I mean, like First Priority Records, like all these like record labels that were happening in New York City when New York fucking owned hip hop, were all like just entrepreneurs.
Like Rush, you're right. You're like Def Jam early. They had that mentality of out your fucking dorm room selling records, but in all fairness, Rick Rubin was around and he knew what's up with the punk rock shit.
Maybe he definitely, you'd have to give him some credit in creating that. I mean, Run DMC. I mean, we'd have to go back and watch the documentaries. Yeah. But I definitely think that obviously hip hop, once it kind of hit where it was the most popular music, I think there's something about I think a lot of that was lost, you know what I mean? Because it just was like, okay, why the fuck do I want to like start my own record label? I mean, maybe now it's probably more like that, because there are so many like more kind of like little brands of hip hop that you could be into. Like it's just more diverse. It's less like massive popular culture. There's like, you know, there's a whole bunch underneath it. But I think with hardcore, I guess getting back to the main point is that you have that kind of just that adventure that it laid out in front of you, and it's for you to take it. Like you may never get paid, you may never get rich from it. I would bet you fucking never will. But
Exactly.
but what is life about, man? It's about living it, and it's about friendships, relationships, and like for me, it's about travel and communication. You know?
No, it's hands down, and it sounds corny. And if you would have told, you know, me 20 years ago, I would have said, oh, you know, I don't want to hear no hippie fantasy shit. But it's a fucking fact, like what you said. Like, yeah, you know, financially, things could always be better. Things could always be worse. But definitely, if you know, especially the people like us that we were able to survive, you know, doing music like as our main job, like I believe me, I've learned in the last 10 years of my life to really look and be grateful because I don't got a Mercedes Benz, I don't got the mansion, but I said I got a bed and a meal for me and my family anywhere on the planet whenever I want. I said millionaires don't have that. They got to pay for that. I get people that open their doors for me and would love, you know, just, I said, to have that, to be in touch with that many people and them to let me in their house where their children sleep and their family sleep and where they eat, that's big. And I'm like, you know what? You know, like my mom's, rest in peace, and all our parents will say, you know, you're rich with love, but you know, I feel that shit in that way.
That's real. And also what you're saying is to you know, I mean, people like people can't even get out of the gate to figure out what it is they feel passionate about. You know, that's really sad. I mean, and it's not even like necessarily their fault. They're just like the thing, like, I don't look at it as it's just good fortune to figure that out, because a lot of people just never come across it. They're not born in the right time, born in the right town, you know, don't meet the right person to like even understand how many, you know, I knew I loved music, but I didn't get into this thinking like, I'm going to build a career in music and tour the world and do this. That's just, I'm too like lower middle class to like think in those terms, you know? So I was like, it just kind of happened. And I see, like, I always wanted to travel, and the fact that like, that it, you know, guitar playing and, you know, all this kind of shit led to like, you know, really amazing friendships around the world. And I've seen the world through eyes that like, you can't, I mean, you can go anywhere in the world and stay at a nice place and have a great experience. You know, anything could be paid for. But like, I go to these cities and I've seen them from all kinds of far out angles because I know the people there, and I've had, and when you're at a show, especially hardcore shows, you're usually drawing kind of some maniacs.
Yeah, absolutely.
People that got problems, people that people that are looking for something to ground them at the same time as something to like let them fucking feel free. So I mean, you're seeing the world through a pretty special lens that, I don't know, to some people it's not interesting, so I'm not talking about it. But you know, I feel like with you,
no, it absolutely is. To me, being a hardcore kid, it's really, it's a superpower. It's like you're an X-Men, because it's more than metal. And again, this ain't about shitting on metal. People know me. I love metal. I'm a metal guy. I love metal and all that. But about, you know, you could walk by somebody with a Metallica shirt, he could still look at you in disgust. You walk by somebody with a AF shirt, a breakdown shirt, and you say, yo, what's up? He's gonna be like, you know this, and it's the bond is way deeper from jump, because it's sub level to the devil. You know, this shit's like the bottom of the bottom where we come from. So for anybody who's willing to even taste it, we're like, whoa, oh shit, okay, yo, who are you? And to this day, it's like that. I see, to this day, I'll see. Not too long ago, I was at some store, and I saw some guy walk by, and he had a Instead shirt.
Yeah.
I said, dope band. I said like that, and I walked by, and he looked at me like, what do you know about it? And I didn't say nothing. I just kept walking. Yeah. But I was like, I got amped. I was just like a guy for that at Walmart or wherever the fuck I was at, you know, and I was like, I get excited still. And I'm, you know.
Yeah, same. I mean, it's always like, shit, I saw someone in Williamsburg walking around with a, now I'm seeing Sick of It All, but I don't think it was Sick of It All. But yeah, I just get psyched. I just see someone walking by, like, that's fucking cool. You know, if I like was in some sort of situation randomly on this block, if there was some sort of like crazy situation that transfixed, I'd be, listen, Sick of It All, let's go. And he'd be like, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I kind of would be scared up here, to be honest, because I'm a city person. It's too quiet, and I get a little bit scared.
You're
up
a long
here.
way from Howard Beach, my friend. There's no white trash people. There's no hoods. Like, well, there's white trash, but maybe different kind of white trash.
Oh yeah, there's
white trash, exactly.
And
you know, it's funny that because again, talking with Craig and I had Kate on not too long ago. I'm like, upstate is like the New York hardcore retirement, you know, area now for everybody. You know.
Yeah. I mean, it's chill. I mean, you get used to it. I mean, I still live in New York. I love it, and you know, the energy and people, you know, being able to see people a little bit more easily. But you know, maybe I have gotten used to it up here too, man. It's a bigger house. I'm just more space to like.
Oh yeah,
that's meaningful.
That's why I came to Florida. You know, I love New York, but also like you know, I wanted a better place for my son to grow up in, and I wanted more bang for my buck. I wanted to, you know, I wanted to look like stuff that I, you know, back home we thought, oh, that's for rich people. You know, I got a palm tree outside my house. That alone, I made it. You know, for me, I made it. It's not connected to a mansion, but I'm like, my son wakes up, and when he wakes up and goes outside, there's a palm tree with coconuts under it. I said, better than the train station with the rats and the bum pissing on the corner where I lived.
Yeah.
So I love the peace. You know, I love that.
Yeah, and Florida and New York, it's like
it's the same shit.
Yeah,
I tell everybody that's the Caribbean for New Yorkers. You know, you could drive to it, you could still fly to it 2.5 hours. It's the 101, your first trip for New Yorkers. Let's go to spring break to Florida.
Yeah, that's an easy connection, and live down there now too. From New York, so but you know, I find like Civ has a place like maybe 15-20 minutes down the road.
Oh, that's dope.
So if I want to like connect with people up here, and I've met some more people up here, I'm not necessarily up here for that. I'm kind of up here to just watch the seasons kind of change and you know, just kind of have more space and some quiet. But yeah, no, I'm not even scared up here anymore.
Yeah,
like,
me.
I used to be scared. Now
I still be scared a little bit. When that shit's too quiet and I hear shit, I'm like, I need noise and bums and crackhead. I need Roosevelt Avenue. I was used to that shit, you know.
Yeah, man.
And have you been writing music?
I have, but not too ambitiously. Like just like more. I'll get a sort of some sort of riff will come to my head, and I don't know if it's like this for you, but I'm very grateful for the fact that songs pop into my head because it's like such a cool thing. But it's kind of like an insanity, you know what I mean? Because I'm just walking around during the day trying to do something. Someone's talking to me. I got to pay attention to something.
Shit in your head. I know, that's me.
And I've got gold. I got to get it out. And then, you know, I probably have like 15,000 potentially gold ideas.
Yeah.
So it's a kind of insanity, but I just been kind of entertaining that, letting them pile up. But you know,
so let me ask you this: how do you? Okay, what's your whole process? Like, okay, you know, for me, I like getting lit. I sit back because I got a little bit ADD where it's hard for me to concentrate. I blaze, I relax. I won't, and I'm not anal with my playing. I could just jam. So I'll sit back and I'll jam, and just, you know, I'm like, till I come up with a pattern that's, and I go, that's pretty cool. Let me build on it. When I'm not lit, I'm like, that sounds whack. This is shit. I don't even want to play. Forget it. So for the last 26 years, this is what I've been doing. But I know, and I start like that, and then I build up and I record pieces. How do you build, and what's your whole process? Is it the same every time? Me also.
I go every which way. And I think like, I think the struggle is like that voice that is saying, like, you start inspiration, like whatever it is, like if you smoke weed, fuck, or you know, you just had some cool experience that you're just jazzed from, so you try to communicate to whoever, you know, someone said something that affected you and or whatever. The struggle that I have is always like seeing that source of inspiration to the finish line, because there's a constant dialogue going on. Yeah, that first part's it's not cool. Like, you got to keep working on that, and then, you know, then you could overwork that part, or you present the finish to the other guys and they're like, this shit, it doesn't click, or they're not playing it the way that you're imagining, they're fucking ruining it. And like these different like kind of psychological barriers to manifest that vision that came out of you in a pure way. And I think smoking weed is, I think there's a lot of, that's your child mind is like
free,
very important. It's free. And, you know, and I think also, you know, and it's all different for different people, but I think that's the main thing with that struggle of like, and I think with some people like who maybe have less talent, if they're stronger in being able to overcome those things, will produce more and will produce things of with the confidence to, like, if you tell a story, even if it's a bullshit story, if you tell it confidently, it'll resonate with people.
No,
and that's what, you know, so I think those are the kind of, that's the fucking level.
Absolutely.
that, you know, once you kind of do it enough, because it's like you write your first bunch of songs and they're kind of coming from this, again, child mind, those initial inspirations. Let's say you write 20 songs about 20 topics. Some of them are like repeating the same topic from a different angle. You know what I mean? And then you kind of run through about the 20 things that you have to say, and you got your style. So where do you go from there? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's the shit with me, because I'm on that same thing, and I'm always, you know, that's again the songwriters. When you go into building, you cannot focus on one thing because it's always linked up to the next thing you're doing. You know, how's it gonna work with this? Oh, if we're gonna do this 2 more times, it's gonna sound played out. We're gonna have to change the ends of this and the tail end of that because we do it twice in the front. Oh, forget it.
And that's important. You have to apply that editor's mind to it, but it's not the same thing as when you blazed up and like came up with this riff that you thought was the sickest riff you ever fucking made up. That's always what it is. You never like,
exactly,
pretty good. You're always like, this riff is gonna fucking change. I don't know, for me, maybe I'm a little diluted, but like, this is the sickest riff I've ever written, or like, this is perfect for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is what I always wanted to know. Cause obviously when Quicksand came out, you know, I knew you were in straight edge bands. You might have been straight edge. I don't know what's the deal or whatever, but I know Quicksand came out. It wasn't a straight edge band. It was just its own band. When I heard that, I said, somebody in that band blazes. Because, and the reason why, I could hear it in the music. And I'm gonna, again, my theories. I had this then. So right away, I'm a Sabbath fanatic. I said, that's Black Sabbath. I hear the Sabbath swag. And what you guys have, and again, this was one of my theories for Quicksand, the swag. You guys have a swamp swag, but it's not Southern. Your swag was like if the Lower East Side had a swamp, and it had that Black Sabbath. I hear a little Metallica with the thing, and with hardcore dudes doing it, and that's why I loved all those things. And the first bunch of Quicksand shows, the first bunch of Into Another shows, you know, whatever you want to go, we were at all those shows. You know, me and all my people, we were at all of them. You know, we may have not fit the mold of the average people going to the, whatever you call it, post-hardcore, or the guys that were in hardcore bands doing their other thing bands, whatever you want to call it. We, you know, again, I'm a Sabbath guy, and I always loved pocket grooves, and Quicksand always had that. And I was like, I wonder who they picked from, and I want to hear Sabbath, you know, and also, was it a conscious thing with those? Because you have it, you know, Omission, that song, you know, I hear it, you know, that but I'm like, I hear that Sabbath flavor, and and that's totally those type of grooves I like, where it's not a steady groove. It kind of got a little shuffle and a little stutter to it.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. I mean, Black Sabbath, I mean, I think the stuff that was coming out of hardcore, like, you know, we, like our whatever group of people, we got really, really into hardcore. That's all we're listening to. But before we were listening to hardcore, we were listening to Sabbath, we were listening to all that kind of shit. So like we kind of took this one really, really deep trip into this kind of music, like put our own little stamp on it. And then, you know, for whatever reason, for reasons like within our own experience of like, you know, where we were in life, you know what I mean? From the age, 16 to age 20, like that's a pretty broad.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a different time when you're 20, 21.
That's a big thing. You growing, every 3 months you grow at that age,
So you're into different shit. So I think a lot of that stuff that kind of came out after that first wave of, you're talking about Quicksand or Into Another, like that kind of shit. I think there was some sort of like, let's mine what we were into. Like, let's take like classic rock shit and put it together with what we know from hardcore. We learn how to write songs, and we know how to move crowds. We knew how to like move a 500, capacity crowd and make them all fucking like go crazy.
Yeah.
So that's something that Black Sabbath wasn't doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we kind of like mixed those elements together, and there was other precedents for us to follow too, because, we were looking to, on the one hand, like Fugazi, which is coming from this kind of reggae, like more
an alternative universe kind of
musical, like I think a very musical, like dynamic sort of thing. But on the other hand, there was like Soundgarden and Danzig.
Because that's like, exactly what I was gonna say. This a little Soundgarden, and again, not that I hear those those ingredients. You can hear with the Sabbath.
They're making, like Soundgarden to me were like taking Sabbath and Zeppelin and recycling it for like kids our age at that time, because Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath is music for like, when you get in junior high, you get into fucking Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin, you smoke weed, you hang out, and that's your thing. But I don't know, it had kind of like ducked down for a minute while we were in hardcore, and we weren't, maybe Sabbath more, but you know what I mean? So
yeah, no, I know.
Emerging again to where it's like, dude, it's okay to be into Sabbath and be punk.
Yeah, exactly. You get over those little, we get over those things that we think aren't cool when you realize that people don't even care. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You go.
You hear me?
Yeah, we're good. And we were saying, and so Sabbath. So all right, so you got these. Let me ask you this. Okay, what was the first? Was the first Quicksand riffs the riffs that made it on the 7-inch, or was there something that didn't make it on the 7-inch?
That was pretty much it, I think. I mean, it was Omission. Yeah, Omission. I kind of had the idea for that, because I was thinking
that's the song that put me on to you guys. Like, obviously, I bet a lot of people, but that was the song that I was like, all right, damn. All right, and this is what I wanted to say before I forget. I was going to tell you that I want to thank you guys and guys that, you know what it is, back then, we always showed love to what we liked. We never cared what anybody thought, whatever it was. If it was Into Another or if it was a ska show, we were at whatever we liked. It didn't matter. But I think at the time we probably hated a little bit because it seemed like all the straight edge guys were the guys doing the shit that we were nervous about doing, like trying that next level shit. And it just happened to be all the straight edge dudes. And we're like, man, these motherfuckers again, they're gonna, and I think we probably subliminally hated a little bit on that, but if it wasn't for those bands, the Quicksands, again, the Into Anothers, and again, these are because I love these bands, and the Sibs was like later on, the Hazen Streets, which we ended up doing, even so many other bands wouldn't have been accepted because you had real hardcore guys like yourself and guys like Civ and guys like, if whoever else doing these other types of music. So it was able for guys like us to come out of our shell and be like, yo, look it. We could do that too.
I appreciate that. I think it's always that struggle never kind of ends. I mean, you're always like, I don't know if it is, I think it's always relative, but like you're always still got to come up with something new. So if you're coming up with something new, I don't know, it behooves you to like, you got to keep digging deeper and digging deeper in a way. You know what I mean? Either to reinvent the thing that people already like, to keep it sounding fresh and not just like imitation of yourself.
Yes.
Or you got to draw from things that you haven't shown, and you have to embrace the kind of, which I think is just a life thing. You have to embrace the parts of who you are that maybe you don't want to share, or maybe you don't want to look at, you know what I mean? Like, and I still struggle with that. There's shit that I like, will hear other bands do, that part of the reason I like it, and on the one hand might be like annoyed by it, is because they're manifesting something that I want to manifest.
Yes.
And it's like, almost like you're taking my idea.
Yeah.
And you're having fun with it.
Yeah. You're doing it.
You're doing it. And that's inspiring, or it could be like annoying. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
They're doing it in a way that, for whatever.
For me, it was that same way, but I liked what you were doing, but I was like, and I didn't realize it was that till later on. Cause musically, I was so in the shell, even with Madball, because Madball is always and will be that 100%, 1,000% New York hardcore band, but it's that meathead with gorilla hardcore, and that's what we always will be. But we like doing it with finesse. We also take pride in songwriting and putting again, like showing, like, these gorillas, we gorillas, but we got swag and we're sophisticated gorillas. You know what I mean? Like,
I think that comes through. I think that's why you guys are not just like in the pack. You guys are like you guys are a band that people look to. I look to like tell me as a barometer for like, how does this shit keep going? How do you keep?
Yeah.
You can't just keep, obviously there's certain things about what you do. And even though I've done a lot of different things, there's a certain process and a certain kind of quality control that is part of like the shit. Like if you come to my, whatever band I'm doing, whatever project I'm doing, like this might not be your thing, but that it's not bullshit,
Yes.
Because and until it is. And then when it's bullshit, then you got to come back from that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, with you guys, like I was listening to one of your songs, I forget the title of it, it's fucking great, where you have like this whole reggae, like thing.
The Rev Up song. Yeah.
That sounds amazing. And like, how do you, but the guts of it are still like Madball, but you're not limiting yourself. And that was what we were feeling at that time.
Yeah.
And still feel it,
Yeah, exactly. And with that thing, again, we couldn't have done that 20 years ago. I'm doing that. People would have been like, what are you guys trying to do with the?
I wouldn't have been.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you were up on it before, but a lot of people would have. And it was like, we always liked it. But again, now I didn't come up with like a little bit older guys, like with the Clash. This Clash stuff that I like. But what I love about the Clash is more the idea of the Clash. Like, they did some reggae shit. Yeah, they were punk guys. They fucking play keyboards, and nobody blinks an eye. And if anything, the OG punks and hardcore dudes love them. And I'm like, wow, they did it right. And I go, all right, that's dope. And then, fast forward, you see this guy, Buster Poindexter. Oh, he was in this, and he comes out with hot. That was big. I was like, I'm not into the song, but the guy's right now all over the radio, and he was playing CBGBs 20 years before that. Or, I'm like, wow, I could connect the dots. That's guys in our world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it took many years till I was in my 40s to be like, yo, dude, look at everybody, don't be afraid, to come out your box. You could come out your box, and try other shit. And that's something I was going to say with you. You've done the acoustic stuffs, besides the Quicksands, and even Quicksand manifested into more,
we're
later records.
I think you're always like, when you take those steps, it's just, again, like hanging out with your people, right? Your family, even like you would, as you're developing as a person, there might be, like, hey, listen, guys, I want to tell you something. Like, I'm into the Mets. I'm not into the Yankees. You know what I mean? And there's going to be a lot of people that would be like, fuck you, I hate you now. And, or there'll be people like that will be like, great, now we can talk about why the Yankees are better than the Mets, and you can tell me why the Mets, and we can have fun with this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you're running a risk when if people like you for some sort of thing, you know, you have a success with your record, you know, they generally, the expectation is, I want the same thing. I want to have that same feeling again that your record gave me. So as an artist, you're aware of that, and I think depending on, you know, where you're at in your development or whatever, what kind of risks you want to take, you want to fuck with that expectation to some degree. You know what I mean? Because if you don't, it just gets stagnant. You know what I mean? And you just kind of, you know what I mean? And it's like, sure, like you're this thing and we love you, respect, you get that respect anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you don't want to overstep it, because we all know that there's, especially in hardcore, like hardcore band will make an EP. The EP is real cool. They make an album. The album's great. Then they're popular and they're rocking out and they think like, oh, I want to go to some other place. They go to that other place. Everyone's like, fuck you, you're not hardcore. Now we hate you.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, nobody likes it. And that's what happened like on our last album that we did. And that record you're talking about. It's our most musical album. And that was the whole idea of the album. Like, we wanted to show, yo, that, yeah, it says New York hardcore all over, but it's great songs, not just meathead riffs. And we wanted to push how far we could push us. So we basically had, you know, I had a lot of these songs that I loved, but I wasn't sure if it was Madball because it was a little bit more, you know, on a melodic, a little bit more punk-ish. And I had these, but I loved them so much that I was like, yo, I'm gonna use it for something. And then Freddie heard the songs, and Freddie's like, yo, what's that? And I go, oh, it's for my other shit. He goes, nah, fuck that. I want to use, let's use it. And I go, I don't know if it's Madball. He goes, I want to use it, so it's fucking Mad. And I was like, you're right. And we did that. And I remember at first I was like, man, there's stuff. I love these songs we're putting together. They're a little different. They're still Madball, but I go, the diehards are gonna talk shit. And I never really cared so much, but I was like, you know, we like you. We like setting the bar for ourselves and keeping it up there. And then I talked to, again, thank God, you know, my brother Lars and Tim from Rancid at different times. And I grabbed Tim and because I wrote a lot of these songs on an acoustic, which I never did, just, you know, chorded stuff. And I go, yo, Tim, I got these songs on acoustic, but I'm not sure. I go, they sound dope, but I want to do them with guitar. I'm not sure if it's going to translate. He goes, yo, if it sounds good on an acoustic, it's going to come off on a guitar electric. Just don't think about it. And then, all right, I said, cool. I worked on it. And then fast forward, I'm with Lars at one of these Super Bowls, the B&B Bowls. And I go, Lars, I got, you know, we're putting out this next record, and every record for us is important right now, you know, to stay, you know how it is, to stay breathing above water. And I'm like, yo, we got these songs. I go, they're more melodic, but I'm not sure, you know, people, he's like, fucking do it. He goes, who gives a fuck? And he's like, yo, you do it. And he goes, you go for it. If that's what you feeling, you go for it. And you know what happens if you put it out and you know, and something doesn't go, boom, you come back and you hit them back with some, look, we could still do this shit. And you hit them back with a little something. And I go, you know what? I'm overthinking it. And for me, it was the best recording and experiences I've ever had with the band as a musician, you know, putting songs together, being in the studio and just not being stressed, but more like, yo, let's make music. Let's have a good time. Let's feel good and let's make music.
And that seems to me like always, you know, watching you guys from, you know, from outside, that's who you guys, I know you guys have a lot of musicality, and I know Freddie's got a lot more to him musically than what he might present in Madball. Although, you know, you guys, I've seen you play festivals, I've seen you play clubs. It's always super strong, super confident, gets people going. Like that's intact. But I know that there's a lot of subtlety. I know that you know, it just comes through as a musician. I know you guys have a lot to you and what you guys put into it. And I think, like, you know, to what Lars was saying is like, I don't know, it's just gonna bug you, man. If you don't like, it's just gonna bug you, and you're just gonna keep doing the same shit, only it won't be as great as the first time you did it. And if you don't take those risks, you'll get bored and you get sick of it, and you're just like holding on to shit. And you know, as a person, like, like
Sure.
when you find yourself holding on to something like that, it's just like kind of shitty because it shows fear. It shows
Yeah. No,
you're
it's
not
bad.
investing
Yeah.
time.
It's like a cancer. It builds up in you and it hurts something because it's
Yeah,
something that you got to get out, especially musicians understand. And that's what happened. For me, it
yeah.
took fucking 30 years for it to come out, but it got to the point
All
where,
right. That's all right. You know what I
you
mean?
know,
And music doesn't have to. Oh, I think it's great when you're just in a chill place and just like, yeah, I'm totally in balance with what I want to do and what
Yeah.
I'm putting out. But oftentimes I'm not, you know,
Yeah.
and so it's fucking annoying, but you have to do something about it because it just keeps coming back.
yeah. Let me ask you, Dying Alone, who came up with that track?
That was, I think,
That groove is,
yeah, that I came with.
yeah, that's a bad track. It's
Yeah.
just, again, what I love. What are you thinking when you thinking grooves? Because I know what I think of grooves. Like not so when I'm thinking of a groove, I'm always got again Sabbath in my head. Like, okay, it gotta swing like Sabbath,
Yeah.
or and I'm like, or because you again, there's certain bands that do it. Rage could do it where they
Yeah.
could make something groove, make it sound hard, but it ain't the typical hard bar chord riff, juk juk, and give it a flavor. Like, what are you thinking? Are you thinking I'm gonna make a groove part? I'm gonna make a funky part? Like, what's your thought on those type of
I guess
riffs?
I have to walk back what I just said because I came with that riff, that jung jung jung, but I
Yeah.
think what you're speaking to is what Sergio and Alan did underneath that riff.
Uh-huh.
Because like Sergio's doing, now we're in like music talk.
That's all right, because that's what we all about.
All right,
So
cool.
motherfuckers gotta deal with it.
Yeah. So Sergio's playing this kind of like boo-doo-doo-doo, kind of like Egyptian, kind of like watery riff underneath that. And Alan's just got a nice touch, our drummer, and he can really lay down these kind of like Bonham sounding riffs.
He plays straight through, and you guys are doing the funk. Sergio's playing, and you're playing the choppy.
So you got these three different voices that are all like, you don't, as a listener, you're just hearing it as one thing.
Yeah,
but we're all singing our own. We're singing the same song, but from different angles. And so I think that creates that. There's a sort of like river flowing kind of vibe to it.
The swamp. That's what that specific song reminds me that. You got that little. That's that swampy push and pull. Yeah, there's that sludge. There's a little mud in there. You know what I mean? And and that's the shit that Madball used. But obviously, when we're doing faster songs, I always try to bring it. My concept is we're pulling the carpet out from under you. That's how I want it to feel. I don't want nothing to sound rigid. I want it to be like this. That's why I like Quicksand. Quicksand had that. And what I liked also, what you did, what I do also, and I don't know if you got it from the Sabbath influence, is you guys do those riffs where you let the drums breathe. You'll be like, where you let these little, that's my whole shit. And that's a big Sabbath does that a lot. And
and I think when you're playing, not every band has a fucking sick drummer. Not every great band has great musicians in it necessarily. But as a songwriter, I'm very aware that if I just listen to those dudes and I don't like force the song on them and just let some space happen, that's an easy win.
Yeah.
You just put numbers up on the board there. It's just like, listen to this dude play a groove.
Yeah.
It sounds good.
Yeah. And that's what I like. Again, those concepts, you get you make shit swing by, like he has it again. He plays straight through. And then the guitar riffs are changing though. And then the bass line is doing a bass line, and it just works. It's hypnotizing.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I think that's, so like when I said I came with the riff is cool. I think it could just work as that riff, but what makes it something really kind of special, and I think where we're talking about it is like because of that chemistry and that sense of like, where do I fit in the song? And I have some, like, as the singer, I have a little bit more shot calling ability to say like, all right, you just chill now.
Yeah.
And this happens.
you know.
But the essentials are within that mix,
Yeah, no, but I've learned that later, like adding textures to making, you could play, a song could be one riff and not sound like one riff if you dress it up the right way. If you layer it in ways, if you do that exactly, you chop it up and you bring the intro, the bass, and let the drums breathe a little, and then you come in. I've learned that later, and it's from bands like that.
Is the coolest shit. It's a sort of like, and I struggle to just like, because I think because of hardcore in some ways, like as much as we say great things about hardcore, it also fucks you up to some degree, because I'm always thinking like, we got to get to the next thing. We got to do the next thing.
Yeah, rush.
You know what I mean? Like you rush to like, we can only do fucking the fast part for like, 15 seconds before we got to get to the next thing that's going to make, pull the rug under them.
Yeah.
So if you have patience, which I think some people that I've met over the years, and you can just hear that one thing go and make something go for like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, with just like one kind of thing, I think people respond to that. So that's kind of like where I want to like, I try to like exist more.
Yeah. It's hard. That shit's like,
I'm too impatient.
I know. I got that habit too. I have another band that I'm doing. And again, a band that I had to get off my chest, and I'm gonna be dropping that, hopefully later this year. And it's not a hardcore band, but it's on some. If AC/DC broke down in Corona, Queens, and we recorded in my basement, it's like AC/DC riffs with James Brown drums. It's dope. But I wouldn't been able to do that nowadays. I hear what everybody else is doing, and it makes, I'm like, yo, it could be done. That's why, I'm nowadays it's a free for all. I mean, at hardcore, the umbrella is so broad. It's great in that way where, okay, there's less focus on us trying to sound like fucking Minor Threat or whoever, when it's like, okay, it's a broader umbrella now, and we do more than just, play at fucking Gildersleeves or whatever spot I never been to. You know what I mean? It's all part of the history, but you know how it is.
I think it's like also when I got into hardcore, I had like a kind of preconceived idea of like what it was and why I wanted to be there. And that was probably based on some like suburbia bullshit movies that I saw of like some punk movies. Like you have a preconceived idea of like who I'm trying to be here and like what this is. But if you're with it long enough, you start to realize that it's like, we're just people, you know what I mean? Like, so we have all these broad spectrums, you know what I mean? It's insane to think I'm going to be fucking Repo Man for the rest of my life and listen to fucking Suicidal Tendencies. Like, it's not who any of us are.
You know what it is that people don't understand, that especially hardcore, it's a baby compared to rock and roll and all this other shit. And there was no playbook for you guys. People automatically, when they heard the Gorilla Biscuits on that set, on the big EP, the famous EP, people thought you guys, including myself, oh, these guys are huge everywhere. And then you realize, no, you guys started popping probably right after that came off.
Yeah,
but in our, back then, you think, oh, forget it. To me, I'm like, oh, these guys are huge. No, these guys been doing. And then you realize, no, it was right on the cutting edge of this thing. And you guys didn't have a playbook. The Roger era didn't have a playbook. You know what I mean? I'm like,
Roger, we did have the benefit of that playbook. Like, to be honest,
AF
like, those guys like AF and, some of the bands we mentioned, like we were trying to emulate, what AF were doing, what Minor Threat were doing, what these bands that we came, Negative Approach, these bands that we, came right before us. But I think it's kind of cool, like being in the second wave of it all in a way, because we did have that reference, but we were able to like put our spin on it. And, and like when Revelation Records came, like Revelation again was taking inspiration from Discord, from Touch and Go, and those record labels. So they had those kind of little blueprint to learn from and to model itself after. So I think we benefited from that. So, I mean, bands like that were, when I first got into hardcore, like Cause for Alarm or Antidote, like even like, Beastie Boys is something different, but like Urban Waste.
Yeah.
Like when I came into and I got those records, I'm thinking like, these fucking guys are huge. Like, You know, there's something, but
Oh,
meanwhile,
yeah.
they're kind of like 75 people, but they are huge in
Yeah.
truth. You know what I mean? Like
Uh,
the records that those guys made resonate today, like, you know, kind of like, you know, when we were kids, you know, like some fucking old jazz record or something like that, you know, some like fucking guy like in the Mississippi Delta that was like giving the pure shit, putting it on a record, you know, and that person putting it on the record represented the inability of like a whole shitload of people that were also great that didn't get there.
Yeah.
And that has a power that, like, I think, you know, whatever, we're glorifying hardcore because that's what we're into. So let's just
And because, and you know what, it deserves it because, you know, we both and a lot of other bands in our world got to do things outside the box, and we should be proud and glorify this shit because that's what makes us different than all the rest of these fucking bastards out there.
So what am I going to do? Here we are talking. So this is what I'm saying is that that those like Urban Waste, you know, Cause for Alarm, The Abuse, like these bands, like New York bands that to me, like, you know, their records aren't trading for like hundreds of dollars. You know what I mean? But I think big picture, like those records are so significant in that they created the idea that when like, okay, I came to like hardcore, like I'm fucking, I don't care about fuck society or whatever bullshit idea I had about it, which was coming from a real place. You know what I mean? Like I said, hardcore scene tends to attract people that are fucking nuts, that got problems. And so I was coming with that was real, but my conception of what it was to be punk or something was kind of like a little bit wacky.
TV shit is what we saw on TV.
So it's a bit of a fantasy. So, but Urban Waste, Abuse, obviously Agnostic Front, had a mystique and a obviously like something like really powerful about it, but they were truly contextualizing it and having it where it made sense to me, and to where it was like less of an act and more of like what I still find it interesting for, which is like this sort of support group in a way, and through music and communication and records and fucking shows and all these different activities, like we're all getting through it, expressing it, coping it, playing a role in it. And it functions like this fucking dysfunctional village that has a lot of love in it, you know.
And it's really like that. Like I've been lucky, you know, Madball's been really blessed that we've been in every point of the world. And I mean, from people living in fucking shacks to people living in the middle of woods. And we've met people that embrace our movement, our families that they never met. They seen a picture on, and these people give their last meals to us. They offer their houses. It's fucking insane. That's why I'm like, you know, the older I get, the more like, you know, how it's funny. Like sometimes we find out like, listeners, you know, hyping up hardcore. And then I would say that a lot to myself. And then it got to the point I was like, fuck, we're hyping it up because it's that special. It really is. That's crazy as it is. This music that's 90% of the humans think is noise and want no part of, yet we could get love from the Congo to the fucking Sahara Desert to no matter whatever points of the fucking planet. And then not only that, they're going to show you, check you out. They're going to show a picture of you when you were fucking 16 years old. They're going to show you a picture of you when you were 20, a picture of you when you were 30. And you're like, wow, they follow us throughout the years and they grew with us. And you're like, wow, it's like family members I never knew.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a special thing.
You're in a chain of people and all these like lived experiences that you have, you know, as many times as, you know, we've traveled to or played New York City or like played in Berlin or, you know, Japan, all over the world, like whatever those times that you return over the course of your career, like people have met up at those shows, you know what I mean? People have like shit that has nothing to do with you or me, but friendships have formed, like businesses have formed, like all kinds of activity has spun off of that, of which like the great majority we have no fucking idea about, but is meaningful to people's lives. And it's not like we did it. We're just part of this thing. And we just got a great spot on stage. You know what I mean? We just can like if I'm watching Madball at a festival, like I paid my dues to where like I can sit on the side of the stage.
Yeah, got the better spot on stage.
That's a good seat.
Exactly. The perks.
But it's just like a role that that I'm playing in the big picture of the whole thing. And that to me is like, I have friends from all different musical genres, and some people don't really give a shit about music in that way anyway, or like what it's about beyond like, I like the song, I don't like the song. Yeah. But like to me, I just, I can geek out on that, but I certainly appreciate it. You know what I mean? And embrace it.
Yeah. And again, like we're talking about why hardcore for us, people like we're used to it because we grew up in it. And then now we see how other people sometimes consider it like some kid shit. So for us, it's in the back of our heads. Sometimes I think like people think like, some people think it's just some kid shit. It's like, no, we're all grown-ups. Now it ain't no more just kid shit. There's enough grown-ups that are still with it and around. And like we're saying, doing things and contributing and making this thing, not making it more legit. It's always been legit, but showing people the strength and the community of what we were part of.
That's what it is. I mean, it's not a musical style. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's not. I mean, you talk about metal. Yes, that's a musical style. Like you can identify it. It has to do with like, fucking chunking out palm mutes, whatever, 6 solos. Yes, you can identify metal. Hardcore is not a musical style. It's like a fucking lifestyle.
Yeah, it's exactly a lifestyle. And that's, who says it the best is Stigma. He's like, how can you, it's one thing, of course, we ain't gonna go to every show. We're not stage diving anymore. We may not go to any show. We may not listen to every demo tape. It still doesn't change who you are or what, what made you. And Stigma used to be like, how do you change something that you're supposed to be? Like when people like, we fell out of hardcore. I understand coming away or we don't go to shows or whatever. But like I said, would you deny seeing a fucking, an Underdog shirt? I'll be like, oh shit, what do you know about Underdog? To this day, I'm a fucking grown ass man and I'd get amped. If the kid is 15 or 50, I'd be like, holy shit, you got a fucking, whatever, Killing Time show, Raw Deal shirt. What do you know about Raw Deal? Oh, you know the real shit.
Yeah, because you're thinking about 15 different levels of shit that relates to that. Like how did he get that Underdog shirt? I like Underdog because I saw them here. You know what? When I saw Underdog, like that inspired me. I remember that homie that was into Underdog and like we bonded on that. And there's like all this different, there's just all this, like, some of it's like, almost like sports, you know what I mean? You're like collecting baseball cards or like, but it's experiences, you know what I mean? And following these different groups of people and all that, you know what I mean? I think it appeals on so many different levels, but like I think what you said before is interesting, is to 90% of people it just sounds like garbage, and I would say probably higher than 90%. Sure. I would probably
99.9
in the points.
For sure. I'm trying to give Hardcore a little bit more props, but you're right. The fact is, you're right.
But that's what's cool. It's like when I first got into hardcore, what appealed to me, because at that time, yes, metal was the other thing. Like I had friends that were into, like, early on into Metallica, and there was a thing coming up with metal at that time, like Slayer and in the early 80s, thrash, where there was new kind of music like thrash. That didn't completely speak to me, just like aesthetically, I just didn't feel it. But when I heard Agnostic Front and it sounded, or like Urban Waste, and it just sounded so fucking shitty.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want people that are listening to, like, they think they're fucking onto some shit with like, hard rock or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to play this and it is going to sound like the fucking worst shit. They're not even going to understand it. And I'm going to be sitting there fucking snapping my fingers to it. Like, that's part of, like, the appeal is that you made it through. And that's really like a part of the appeal of you go to CB's. I don't know what it was like for you the first time you went to CB's. First time I'm going to CB's, I'm expecting it to be like fucking suburbia. There's going to be a fight's going to break out.
Yeah.
There's going to be someone's going to inject me with drugs. It's going to be
I was scared. I was nervous too, kind of like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's going to be fucking insane. But you get into it, like you get in the pit, you have your experience and you leave and you're like, fuck, I made it through, man. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like Sunday, I'm here again.
I'm kind of fucking doing this shit. And like the music is cracking that code. There's a price of entry to some degree, and it's not like, and there was some hardcore that I knew, like I used to hang out with Anthony Cominelli a lot. And he was really my guru.
The best.
To all of us, like me and Civ and our little clique. Like Anthony was older, was really into music, and he would play stuff for me and I just like didn't know it, or I didn't like it initially, and feeling like, oh fuck, man, I got to figure out a way to like this.
I did.
This is important, you know what I mean? Because he's saying, like, Anthony's telling me that this is the shit, and I want to understand why this is the shit, and that's part of it. You know what I mean? And so I don't know. It's so many different fucking levels.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, that's what I love about hardcore. Like a real hardcore kid gets through the thick skin to the meat of it, because that's what shows you gotta last long enough to break through that. Like, like at first I heard, I was like, this is crazy, but something about it, I like it. Let me hear it more to find out what it is I like. That's you biting through the skin. Some people just want that shit to taste good from jump. They don't know, they don't want to work for it, and that's why they don't appreciate it. They'll leave like that because they didn't have to work for it. But that's why I love the hardcore mentality, and like what we were talking about before, and what I was really glad about of where things are going is what we talked about. Like, one, a lot of the guys, not a lot, but there's still a bunch of us still doing music, guys, carrying the torch, even doing new music. But as long as we do music, that spirit of the scene is alive, like it or not. And so I love that. And we're also doing different things. I got the podcast. People got podcasts. People are doing clothing lines. We got that. And you got the show. Yeah. And I learned about the show not too long ago. I've been hearing about it, but I wasn't sure what it was because I know Vans would do shows and like shows where like bands would play. And I wasn't sure if it was a live show or what. And then it's like a talk show, right?
It's kind of like a talk show.
I saw one of them, but you let everybody know exactly what you're doing with that and how did it come up? That's what I was wondering. How did that whole concept come up?
So so the show is really it's cool. Vans wanted to create and we were talking about in COVID, trying to like keep people connected, interested in shit. So they wanted to make this like cable access kind of show. So they wanted me to do one focused on hardcore. And so I kind of have like a kind of somewhere between like Eric Andre, kind of Wayne's World, kind of, what I remember of like cable access when I, coming up. And it's great, man, because I really, kind of speaking to what you were saying before, like I have my like hardcore glory era of like the shit that I got into, the bands that I became friends with, and I know their music because we're friends. But there was a time where I ceased to be one actively checking out what's happening, and this shit's always moving. Yeah,
of course.
So my first thing was like, okay, I'm gonna do this show about hardcore. That's cool. I feel confident that I can pull that off, but I'm kind of like, people that are really following hardcore are gonna know that I'm not out
of the mix. Yeah,
I'm out of the mix.
Yeah.
I've just been really diving in deep to the mix, not saying that I know everything. I'm learning.
Yeah, you're catching up.
That's the journey, and it's like cool coming in with like kind of fresh ears, and because I still connect to that energy, even on kids that are like, were definitely not alive when I did that Gorilla Biscuit EP, but they're taking that structure, that like I was saying, like kind of AF presented that structure, and I filled it in with my own kind of whatever spin on it. Yep. Like kids are doing that now from shit that like I'm familiar with, and from sources that I have no idea about, from some band that was happening in the 2000s that I just never listened to.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they're fucking into, and so I'm like, I'm just really digging on the energy, and that it's fresh to me again is cool. And I'm meeting just kind of up and comers, which I'm really
It's funny you said that because I just got this. So this Reaching Out. This is a new band. You know what's up?
It's dope, man. I have the same.
Yeah. Yeah, Beto used to. He was my boy. He was in my first band. This is his son plays in this band, and this is something I wanted to say that you basically hit on the nose with that whole shit. More than ever, this new batch of kids, I'm feeling their energy more than energy. Maybe not taken away from many bands 10 years ago, but this new batch of energy, I'm feeling it like that, and that's why I'm back. Not that I never was not rooting for them, but now I'm more in the front. Like, yo, you know, I like pushing these bands. You know, one obviously for the scene, but like I like the energy. It reminds me of how much I loved it. You know what I mean? Getting back to the roots and let's go make it happen. Let's get in there.
To it, man. I relate to it, and which is fucking cool, and it's exciting. And yeah, I had Rupa from Reaching Out on the show.
Yeah,
he's 18 years old. Like
amazing, the best. That's like our ages. That's what 15, 18. You should be like no older or younger. That's when you should start a band. 15 and 18.
The prime, you know what I mean? So it's like knowing that I have a connection to that, you know, at you know, my age, and that it's you know, like you said, hardcore is a baby. Like we have to, you know, from my point of view, embrace that part of it. You know what I mean? It's like we gotta like kind of reach out.
Yes.
We can't just like Gorilla Biscuits is playing these festivals and we're kind of like showing up and we're kind of like, you know, here we are from the 80s and we're doing this thing. I mean, I feel it's beautiful because we bring people together. Yeah. I'm seeing we bring people together from all these different generations. And I think that's so key to what you and what we do. And I see at Madball shows, there's kids in a Madball. Yeah. Like they relate to it. And for being in our position where we do have that cross-generational appeal, like we gotta,
it's our job.
We gotta be into it. And that makes it the whole thing stronger. And it's fun, dude. The kids are making, there was a time where it's like, no one's making good hardcore anymore. Cause I saw this band and I saw that band and no one will ever be as good as Raw Deal and fuck you. You know what I mean? Like
exactly. I know that same
it's not
shit.
a good, you know, you're entitled to feel that way. Like your time was the only time. But you know, we all secretly know that's not how it works. Really.
Exactly. Because we learn to look for the essence of shit. We see the heart in the people. We see how passionate they are and what they would do to get their music out is the same things we would have done. That's what makes us appreciate a band more from being in a band. And also, I'm glad the eras we came up from when, again, I'm not one of these older guys that shits on the new guys, but it's easier to start something and get it known, right? To get the ball rolling nowadays. Back then, I personally would walk up and down CBGB's with my demo tape, $5, 5 songs. This is the hardest shit out. That was my line. And I had that since I was 15, 16 years old. Because I had a hustle. I wanted people to hear the demo. I double cassette decks every night before school. Yeah, the Abraham, you know, the whole fucking thing. You had a hustle. Now I could drop a song. I could record the song on this computer right now, drop it, give it a website, design the cover, have it uploaded in hours.
I think that's true. Like, I think in many ways it's easier, but the other side of it that I would say to it is like, how do you then break out of the pack? Like when you had that demo at CB's, you were competing with probably like 8 other bands in New York at the same time. So you got a competition of 8. You're probably chances are you're gonna be at least in the 4.
Exactly.
So you got a good shot of being in the top 4.
Oh yeah.
And then you just got to break from that to get. But nowadays, like, okay, we can make a demo and do all the things that you mentioned. True. But now we're competing with like 50,000.
You gotta stick out for sure. That's why the one thing now I'm glad about is you know, all these platforms we got to basically showcase, to give more shine. Like this podcast, I keep this for one, the art of talking shit and connecting with, you know, friends and people, and also it keeps the brand alive. It helps feed the scene, you know, investing in the scene, and also like what you're doing, you know, it's with the show, we need things like that in these platforms, so they could be the next level of platform where something could be put on, like the AF documentary be put on Showtime. Who would ever think Roger and Stigma would be on Showtime in such a beautiful fucking picture where every, normal people watch it on Showtime. You got a show. People are looking, it's getting treated like, okay, wow, a show. They have a band play. It's like a talk show. Wow, an our world with real people from our world, not a guy that gave a mohawk, a studded necklace, and they go, okay, fake the funk. It's legit. The same thing with the podcast and the live streams with people in our world taking things to the next level. And that's what we got to do. That's why I got amped that more podcasts are coming up from other guys that, that said, yo, if you got a voice, fuck it, throw it out there. Yeah. You know what I mean? Why not? And seeing the other platforms like the show you got and like the Hardcore Chronicles, which Drew does, the live show.
That show's great.
It's amazing. And these other things I'm doing. That's why, same thing with me. I'm dropping, I'm putting out, and I also have a YouTube channel, and I'm taking not talk show format, but I'm putting content up with more visuals where we'll do a little segment. Like one day I want to get you on. I got a segment where we're going to start doing segments like what's in that case. We go through guitar cases, what's in there, and we go through equipment and shit like that. And we'll do little stuff like that. And I'm just trying to have fun with it and, and show people more angles than just, what was your favorite hardcore band and, that, kind of stuff, and try to show like, what we into. Cause a lot of these kids also want to know these, I wonder what we play, what we they tour, what do they eat, what do they wear, what do they take with them, these, all the fill in the gap kind of things and cool shit that I think is cool. So
yeah, that's a kind of from what we were saying earlier. It's like that's the being on stage and playing the song and presenting that whole thing is like a cool aspect of it. It's the loudest, most visual, but all the other shits, if you want to dig into it, it's all interesting. And obviously like doing a podcast, with the show, like it's definitely again tapping into your child mind in a way. Like what am I interested in? What game do I want to play with this? And making it fun and being creative in a time where like we do have these ability to get shit out. So I think that's all positive. And seeing AF be seen as in the light that they deserve to be seen in as a cultural phenomenon is right on fucking target, dude. That's what they are. That's that
shit. I saw that shit. I was in tears. I saw it before it dropped. We were in Europe and I had to play a show 10 minutes later. I was on stage. I called Roger right away.
Yeah.
I was just like, Roger. I was just like, yo, I love you. Right away. So I was just like, he must have been like, what the fuck's up with this guy? Yeah. But I was literally shooken up. Like it fucked with me in the best way. And I was like, when I see things again, besides being filmed great in the story, again, I root for the scene, anybody in the scene. If it ain't Mad Boy, I don't care. It's like one of us, somebody doing something. I'm like, yo, that's just taking it to the next level. That's why, again, I'm glad you had the show. I'm glad you were able to jump on this. And how's that work? If people want to follow the Vans show, how's that work? Is it a monthly thing, weekly thing? What's the plan?
2 weeks. It's a little bit tricky. You got to tune in to Vans channel 66. And the show, I'm doing a show this Thursday at 5 p.m. East Coast time, and it's 2 hours. This week we have Restraining Order, who are a really dope band, like young hardcore band, doing great shit. And I've got Sam from Triple B Records. Triple B are putting out a lot of great hardcore records. Like so again, like making that connection to, I'm representing like a certain era of hardcore.
Yep.
I want to know what's up with these guys that are coming up, learn from that and kind of make that connection. So you got to tune in live, and that's it. It's like old timey TV. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I love it. I saw it, and you guys got the live bands playing. I saw it with Outburst, so it was good to see that. And again, like in the same vein of like what Drew's doing, it's great to see like it's almost like daytime TV for fucking savages. And I'm like, so I'm all for it. Keep doing that shit. Again, where they could catch you, your Instagram, if people could follow you on Instagram and all that good shit.
New Direction NYC is the Instagram tag, or if you go to my Instagram, you can find it. But I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I'm really kind of reigniting my heart. I'm going to be pretty I'm gonna know a lot about this shit when
Yeah.
by the time I get through this show, dude. I'm learning more all the time, and I'm listening to great podcasts like yours.
Yeah.
And you know, trying to reconnect with the community and it's all just fucking so much interesting shit, so many interesting different perspectives.
I'm psyched, and I'm also glad, and I'm and giving you mad props on you not trying to front that, you know, you fell out of touch with it, because some people, it happens to some people, they fall a little bit out of touch with things, and you're coming back into it with the right mind, like, yo, I want to know what's cracking, I want to know what's coming from what, because life happens and people pull out of it, and then people come up with these crazy stories why they, you know, maybe fell out or lost touch with the scene.
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad you came out and fucking, you know, you life went on, and you acknowledge that, hey, I don't know everything that's going on.
Yeah.
You know, exactly. And you want to know, and you're proving it by the platform. And that's what we need. And that's what we need. A lot of the more old school people, if any of you guys are listening, stop complaining and talking shit and be about it. Drew was around before everybody. This man right here was around before 90% of you motherfuckers. So if we're not complaining, you know what they're doing? What hardcore kids do. We don't destroy, we rebuild. So
yeah, for sure, man. And there's a lot of cool shit out there to check out, and you can refresh your whole. It's just interesting, man. It's just interesting, and like I think being in you know, I've always been in touch with hardcore. I know all my friends I met at fucking CBGB's, more or less, you know, fanning out from that tree, and so that's always been with me. But you know what's going on with music right now, the kids that are coming up and the labels and all this stuff that's coming out, it's just a good time, man. Just if you can stand to listen to hardcore, it behooves you to check out, to just dip your toes in and see what you might find.
I agree. I'm glad I got you on the show. I've been wanting to get you on. A big fan. Last time I saw you, I think we were in Europe or somewhere. So hopefully I can next time it'll be at a show.
I hope so, man. That was such a great show, man. You guys were incredible.
Yeah, you know what's up, and we're gonna do some shit. I got some ideas. I got another episode later on down the line. I'm gonna do with the singers, some of my favorite singers of hardcore. So I got a couple of a batch of guys, and I want to throw you in the mix with that. But we'll talk later.
Down, boy, always down.
We're gonna bug out, but yo, again, one love, everybody. Go check them out everywhere. Gorilla Biscuits, Quicksand, and 1,000 other bands. Go check them out on the Vans. What's it, Vans? What's the channel?
Vans Channel 66. New Direction.
There you go. Everybody tune in, and we out.
Word.